let's get in positions, everyone. Camera 1 into effect. 2-second pre-roll. Camera 1, track left. Open lock. Watch your focus, Challenge. We're on the air.
Kids wanna know. Kids wanna know. Kids wanna know.
Welcome to Kids Want to Know. I'm Chris Eddy. You see this building here? It doesn't look all that unusual, but if you were in a car accident or any kind of accident and you had to have surgery, what they collect inside here could save your life. Let's take a look. Some people can't stand the sight of this red stuff, but the people at the Sacramento Blood Center love to see it. Being donated, that is. You see, the need for blood is great. In the United States, on an average day, around 40,000 pints of red blood cells are needed, and more than 23 million pints of blood components are transfused every year.
We often have shortages in various parts of the country, particularly when natural disasters occur. Often in the summertime, when many donors who might give are off on vacation. When you look at the world at large, there's definitely a shortage of blood. There aren't enough collection facilities available, and there aren't enough donors willing to donate in the world.
Unfortunately, only 5% of the people who can donate do donate. There are many, many people who could who don't.
Accident victims, people undergoing surgery, patients being treated for leukemia, cancer, and other diseases. They all need blood or some component of that blood. Besides red blood cells, there's plasma, platelets, and white blood cells.
The red blood cells transport oxygen throughout the body. When we breathe, the red blood cells take up oxygen and they bring it to the various cells of the body and allow the cells to breathe. Plasma is the liquid portion of the blood. It's basically water with a lot of salts, proteins, and various other chemicals in it. And it's what allows all the different complex chemical reactions in our body to constantly occur. It's very important to allow us to live.
Platelets help prevent bleeding both on the inside when you bruise and on the outside when you get a cut or a scrape. The scab you get is made by the platelets clotting up together. That's why they have to be stored in a special machine that constantly keeps them moving.
Also, the blood contains white blood cells that help us to prevent infections when we're exposed to different bugs.
No, not bugs like cockroaches, bugs like bad viruses and infectious disease. There are times when a blood center will decide not to use your blood.
For instance, a donor might tell us after the donation that he or she has become ill or contracted some type of disease that would cause us to not be able to use the blood. Also, we test blood very carefully using 8 or in some cases 9 different infectious disease tests. And if any of those major tests are positive, indicating that the donor might be infectious for a disease, we can't use the blood.
Now, there are some requirements you need to meet before you can donate blood. First, you have to be at least 17 years old, unless you get a special note from your parents, and you can do it when you're 16. You have to weigh at least 110 pounds, and they encourage you to eat a good meal before you come donate blood. Water's very important, too. And you can't be sick. They don't want any colds or flu or anything like that. In fact, the reason I'm not donating today is my throat feels a little sore. Now, I know that some of you watching are not at least 16 years old, but there are ways in which you can help, too.
Oh yes, we've had brownie troops organize blood drives with their parents, or just encourage your parents to donate, or maybe a neighbor or your grandparents, and convince them that giving blood is a good thing to do.
The process is pretty simple. First, you do some paperwork and talk to a worker to get some medical background to make sure you're a good candidate. Next, you kick back in a very comfortable chair while your blood pressure is taken. Then they try and find a good vein in your arm to draw the blood from. The area is cleaned and disinfected, and a cotton patch is put on to keep the germs out. Now, this is where some of you might get a little squeamish, so if you need to close your eyes, go ahead. The rest of you can open yours. Both eyes. That's better. The needle is inserted, and the blood begins to go through the tube into a plastic bag where it's stored. You're asked to either squeeze or roll a tube to help the blood pump out easier. Once they have their unit, they close off the tube, take out the needle, and it's over. They ask you to keep your arm above your head because it's harder for the blood to get there from the heart, and they don't want any more blood to come out. In fact, remember I told you about those platelets? Well, right now they're clotting up, so there'll be a little tiny scab where the puncture mark is. After a minute, it's off to a resting area where they want you to eat snacks like soda, cheese and crackers, raisins, and even donuts. Now that's tough, huh? After a little wait to make sure you're okay, you can be on your way and get ready to come back another day.
If you're giving whole blood, for instance, you can donate as frequently as every 8 weeks. If you are giving platelets that we collect through a special platelet pheresis machine, you could give conceivably as often as every 3 days, up to a total of 24 times a year.
And if it's for plasma, it can be as frequent as every 3 days. And that's what Curtis is doing here. He's pretty well known around at this center because he's given 30 gallons of blood over several years. I wonder if you could guess how many donations that is.
I don't want to guess. 240 times.
And that's an extremely valuable person to us. You can imagine that that blood may have been used to help at least 240 individuals. In some cases, we separate or break apart the blood that we collect into several components. So you can imagine that person may have touched the lives of 400, 500, 600 individuals, help save their lives.
Some might think that by donating that often, they might run out of blood. Well, don't worry. Within 24 hours, your body will produce a new pint of blood to make up for the old one. In this case, when you give, you really do get something back. Not just some new blood. You get the respect of the workers at the center, the admiration of friends and family, and the thanks from all the people that will be helped by your donation.
You're really giving the gift of life.